We have to stop pretending and acknowledge that we are seeing fascism. We have to just say it the way it is while making it clear we're not saying this is Hitler in the 1930s and 1940s. That's not what we're saying. This is not concentration camps. It's not the final solution. But fascism doesn't always arrive in jackboots. Sometimes it's with a suit at a lectern with a smile and a salute. And what we're watching unfold under Donald Trump in June 2025 is fascism. And it is fascism adapted for a nominally democratic environment and sanitized for cable news. But it is still fascism. Saturday, Donald Trump will be throwing himself a $45 million taxpayer-funded military parade for his birthday. It's going to feature troops, tanks, a fleet of attack helicopters. And Trump has made one thing very clear. If you protest it, period, not if you loot, not if you do violence, if you protest it, you will be met with very heavy force. We talked about that on Wednesday. It's a direct quote about American citizens peacefully exercising their First Amendment rights in a constitutionally protected way. If you think he's bluffing, look at Los Angeles, because the Marines landed in a move that violated the Posse Comitatus Act, the bedrock principle of law since 1878. Trump deployed 700 Marines and thousands of National Guard troops to LA to crush protests against the ICE raids. No request from Mayor Karen Bass, no approval from Governor Gavin Newsom. When they complained, Trump threatened to arrest them. And of course, no legal invocation of the Insurrection Act, which would legalize what he's doing. Marines trained for Afghanistan were dropped into an LA neighborhood, no clear rules of engagement, and a Pentagon scrambling after the fact to draft policies about when are you even allowed to do this? When are you even allowed to use force of this kind domestically? The LAPD, not a bastion of progressive resistance. The LAPD put out a statement saying, we oppose this. Even the cops didn't want it. They weren't notified it was happening. And what we have to remember is that fascism is a process. This is how authoritarianism builds. No one is sweeping in an instant, but it's piece by piece. The press gets chilled. ABC fires veteran reporter Terry Moran for calling Trump and Stephen Miller haters. The process becomes criminalized. Dissent is equated with treason. Governors who object are threatened with arrest, or in Speaker Mike Johnson's words, should be tarred and feathered. That's what MAGA Mike said about Gavin Newsom. And when the protests inevitably come because of the authoritarianism, because some Americans aren't willing to sit quietly while freedoms are bulldozed, those in power manufacture a crisis. They provoke, escalate, and militarize until they can justify even more state violence. And that is what Trump advisor Stephen Miller did. Order aggressive ICE raids so that you bait backlash, use the backlash to say we've got to send in the Marines to generate more protests in other cities, which will end, we don't know yet, but probably not well. So we've been here before. This is not Nazi Germany. But also, Hitler didn't start with gas chambers. He started by demonizing minorities and saying, we've got grievances here. We're going to deploy military police to restore order. We're going to attack the legitimacy of local governments. Mussolini did parades. He did pageantry. He used state violence to centralize control and crush dissent. Pinochet did the same thing in Chile. Erdogan did it. Putin does it. And Trump wraps it all in patriotism. He claims he's restoring law and order. What he's doing is overriding state sovereignty, a principle of the Constitution, criminalizing protest, a constitutionally protected act, and unleashing military force on civilians without rules, precedent, and accountability. If we allow it to be, this will become the new normal. We've passed the point where this is policy differences. The idea of you want a flat tax, I want a 50% top tax rate, I want a 30% this is so beyond that. This is about naked, brazen, unaccountable power. And if you think Trump's going to be satisfied at stopping with California, you haven't been paying attention. Every time there's a legal loss, a poll drop, or a protest, or a failed policy attempt, he escalates. Violence is now in the system. So what do? We don't minimize this. We don't rationalize this as politics as usual or Trump being Trump. We call it creeping fascism, period. We show up. Now, I saw a Reddit post. Why isn't David in the streets in LA like Hassan? Well, number one, I don't live in LA. Number two, I can do much more on my show with the 5 million people a day that I'm reaching than I would getting into fisticuffs with police in Los Angeles. But the point here is we show up everywhere. It's not just in the streets. We show up in the media, in the ballot box, in state legislatures, in local media. The GOP apparatus is enabling what's happening, and we have to show up. And then we use whatever platform we have, however small, because fascism thrives in silence and confusion. So we've got to speak clearly. Not a drill, not a practice, not a false alarm, not theater, not satire. It's real and it's happening right now. We can stop it, but we've got to pretend we should not pretend that this is any less than what it actually is. Let me know what you think. You know, every time we call out Donald Trump's authoritarianism, the right calls it media hysteria. But I want to remind you that Trump admits he's looking for ways to defy the Constitution and maybe even pursue another term. Now, if you don't know the bias behind your news, you might believe, oh, Trump's just teasing us. There's nothing here. Go to ground.news/Pacman and see how media bias influences more than your perception from Trump's policy and ability to understand and undermine constitutional norms. I've been with Ground News for years now because this is what they do. They expose the hidden agendas behind reporting sources and make it easy to compare coverage and understand critical issues. Even better, if I'm reading a story on another site, the Ground News browser extension will flag the source's political bias and give me other reports on the same story so I can verify the information. My viewers get 40% off the same unlimited Vantage plan that I use, so you get their top tier plan for just $5 a month. Go to ground.news/Pacman. The link is in the description, or scan the QR code.